Welcome back to Grim Ghouls. Grab your blankets, your comfort snack, and maybe leave a light on because tonight we are diving into one of the most controversial true crime cases in recent history. This is a case that had people asking one huge question. Was Gypsy Rose a victim, a murderer, or somehow both? For years, the world saw Gypsy as a sick little girl confined to a wheelchair, battling leukemia, muscular dystrophy, seizures, and countless other illnesses.
We would also like to make a disclaimer before we get started. We want to note that the information in this episode is based on publicly available sources, including court records, news reports, documentaries, interviews, and other published materials available at the time of recording. Our goal is to share and discuss true crime cases for informational and educational purposes. We strive to present information as accurately as possible. However, details may evolve as new information becomes available. Listener discretion is advised, as the episode may contain discussions of violence, abuse, death, and other sensitive topics. Let's jump into it.
Let's start with Dee Dee Blanchard. Dee Dee became a mother in 1991 to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Dee Dee was 24 while Gypsy's father was just 18. Right from the beginning, Dee Dee started telling people that Gypsy suffered from serious medical issues. Over the years, she claimed Gypsy had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, brain damage, seizures, needed a wheelchair, and needed a feeding tube. None of this was true. Dee Dee forced Gypsy into a wheelchair even though she could walk, shaved her head to mimic chemo, and gave her unnecessary medications and surgeries, isolated her from others, and lied about her age. Dee Dee allegedly forged a copy of Gypsy's birth certificate, changing her birthday to 1995 to bolster claims that she was still a teenager. Allegedly, Dee Dee kept Gypsy's birth certificate hidden to control her identity. This is one of the most extreme real-life cases of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which is also called factitious disorder imposed on another. Dee Dee regularly shaved Gypsy's head, allegedly telling her that since her medication would eventually cause her hair to fall out, it is best to shave it in advance. Gypsy Rose often wore wigs or hats to cover her baldness. Dee Dee often took an oxygen tank and feeding tube with her, and Gypsy was fed the children's liquid nutrition supplement, Pediasure, well into her 20s. Doctors believed Dee Dee and what she was saying about her daughter.
To the outside world, Dee Dee looked like a devoted mother, but behind closed doors, Gypsy was essentially held captive and medically abused. A news article was published on February 20th, 2003 titled, "Life Takes Many Turns for Good for Little Girl in Slido," reported Dee Dee and Gypsy had been abandoned by their family after the death of Dee Dee's mother. It stated that they had twice lived in their car before settling in public housing. They got free houses from Habitat for Humanity, donations, tips, and charity support. Dee Dee even said, "The Lord really knew what He wanted for us because today we have a roof over our heads, an adopted family, a church family at Aldersgate United Methodist Church, social workers for Gypsy, and we were given a trip to Disney World by the Children's Wish Endowment." Imagine being a community member and seeing a mother sacrifice everything for her sick daughter. Nobody suspected that they were actually watching years of abuse happen in plain sight. After Hurricane Katrina destroyed their Louisiana home, Dee Dee and Gypsy lived in a rented home in Aurora, Missouri. During their time there, Gypsy was honored by the Olay Foundation, which advocates for the rights of feeding tube recipients. In 2008, Habitat for Humanity built them a small home with a wheelchair ramp and a hot tub as part of a larger project on the north side of Springfield. The story of a single mother with a severely disabled daughter forced to flee Katrina's devastation received considerable local media attention, and the community often pitched in to help Dee Dee.
As Gypsy got older, she began to realize she could walk, and she wasn't actually sick. Her mom was lying to her. Gypsy later said in an interview that for 14 years she was unsure of her real age. Gypsy turned to the internet secretly. When she tried to rebel, Dee Dee would physically restrain her, threaten her, smash her computer and phone. In 2011, Gypsy attempted another escape by shooting her mother 10 times with a BB gun, which she initially believed was a real firearm. Dee Dee told others that the injuries were from a robbery attempt at a nearby Walmart. Allegedly, Dee Dee chained Gypsy to a bed when she tried to escape. doctors started becoming suspicious of everything going on with these two girls. This part messes with my head because just imagine not even knowing your real age or having your entire identity controlled by someone else.
In 2012, Gypsy met Nicholas Godejohn from Wisconsin on a Christian dating site. Nicholas had documented mental health issues and a low IQ. Gypsy and Nicholas exchanged over 100 videos during their online relationship. Their relationship became intense very quickly, including roleplay and fantasy scenarios. Allegedly, in one video in which Gypsy is using one of her multiple personas, she says the following about the children that they may have together. The plan for if we have a boy first, we're going to protect him and our children from the outside world because they can't know about you being a vampire. If we have a girl, the way it has to be is she has to lose her virginity to you because you are the master of the household. I will explain that to her when she is of age, where it's time to explain it. Like, not when she's 7, more like 13. In 2014, Gypsy confided to her 23-year-old neighbor, Aaliyah Woodmansey, who at the time was unaware that Gypsy was actually closer to her own age and considered herself as a big sister. Aaliyah later said in a 2020 interview she was talking about this new guy that she was now in love with, and that they had met on a Christian dating site, and that they were already planning on naming their children after him. Honestly, what I was thinking whenever I saw these messages is that these were just like fantasies and dreams, and nothing like this would ever really take place.
Now we get to all the planning that the two did together. They had 3 plans to get the relationships working. Plan A was that they arranged a meeting between her mother, Dee Dee, and Nicholas, pretending they had just met. Gypsy hoped her mother would grant permission for them to start a relationship. Plan B was for her to get pregnant on purpose, believing that having a baby would force others, including her mother, to allow her to live an independent life. Plan C was the final resort. This plan involved Nicholas traveling to their home and fatally stabbing her mother while she slept so the couple could run away together. Gypsy stated they had been discussing killing Dee Dee for about a year and that she had considered other methods earlier. She said they communicated secretly for years because her mother would never allow it. Less than a month before the murder, Gypsy sent Nicholas a video of her walking into her mother's room, pointing at Dee Dee's pillow and making a stabbing motion. On June 10, 2015, Nicholas arrived at Springfield. Gypsy and Dee Dee were away at a doctor's appointment. After they had returned home, Dee Dee had gone to sleep and Nicholas arrived. Gypsy let him in and gave him duct tape, gloves, a knife, and instructions. Gypsy hid in the bathroom while he stabbed Dee Dee to death multiple times. According to Gypsy, she covered her ears so she wouldn't hear it happen. Allegedly, after the murder, the two went back to Gypsy's room and had an intimate moment and stole more than $4,400 in cash that Dee Dee had been keeping in the house. They called a taxi cab and fled to a motel outside Springfield, Missouri, where they stayed a few days while planning their next move. During their time at the motel, they were seen on security cameras at several stores. They mailed the murder weapon back to Nicholas's home in Wisconsin to avoid being caught with it, then took a bus there. Several witnesses who saw the pair on their way to the Greyhound station noted that Gypsy wore a blonde wig and walked unassisted. Gypsy and Nicholas posted on Facebook from Dee Dee's account saying, "That bee is dead." Friends got worried and reported it to the police. When the police arrived, they had to wait for a search warrant to be issued before they could enter, but they allowed one of the neighbors to climb through a window. He reported that the inside of the house was largely undisturbed and that Gypsy's wheelchairs were present. When the warrant was issued, police entered the house and found Dee Dee's body. Neighbors were concerned about how Gypsy would do without her wheelchair, medication, and support equipment. Friends set up a GoFundMe account to pay for Dee Dee's funeral expenses and possibly Gypsy's.
The police traced the IP address from the post to Dee Dee's Facebook account. The IP was traced back to Wisconsin, and the next day police agencies in Waukesha County raided Nicholas's home. Nicholas and Gypsy surrendered and were taken into custody on charges of murder and felony armed criminal actions. This is when public opinion completely shifted. People were going back and forth on whether Gypsy was a victim of lifelong abuse or a murderer who manipulated Nicholas. Gypsy took a plea deal and was charged with second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Nicholas went to trial and was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, with an additional 25 years for armed criminal action. Gypsy was released on parole on December 28, 2023, after serving 8 of her 10-year sentence. Following her release, she gave several interviews, including appearances on Good Morning America, CNN, and The View. In 2024, she and her then-husband Ryan Anderson were featured in the Lifetime docuseries Gypsy Rose, Life After Lockup. The couple separated and later divorced in April of that year. Allegedly, in March 2026, Gypsy sparked outrage when she created a TikTok video showing her making a joke about her and the murder of her mother. Gypsy is dating Ken Erkler now and has been living with her dad in Louisiana. Nicholas is still incarcerated at this time.
And that wraps up today's episode on one of the most debated true crime cases out there. This case leaves so many questions behind. Was Gypsy a victim? Was she a perpetrator? Can someone be both? This was a story filled with abuse, manipulation, trauma, and ultimately murder. No matter where you stand, it's a case that challenges the way we think. We want to hear your thoughts on this one because everyone seems to walk away with a different opinion. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and drop down in the comments where you stand with Gypsy Rose's case. As always, make sure to share this episode with a fellow ghoul and follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes content, episode updates, and all of our spooky chaos. Until next time, stay spooky and stay curious.
Bye, ghouls!